Alright, so now the people are going to be talking to each other about returning to the Lord. Come, let us return to the Lord. He has torn us to pieces, but he will heal us. He has injured us, but he will bind up our wounds. After 2 days he will revive us. On the 3rd day he will restore us, that we may live in his presence. That's kind of like a reference to the resurrection, isn't it? Sure seems like it. The resurrection of Christ, that is. Let us acknowledge the Lord. Let us press on to acknowledge him. As surely as the sun rises, he will appear. He will come to us like the winter rains, like the spring rains that water the earth. That sounds well and good. So that's what people are saying to each other in response to Hosea calling them out for their sin. That sounds well and good. But here is the Lord's response to that. What can I do with you, Ephraim? What can I do with you, Judah? Your love is like the morning mist, like the early dew that disappears. So they had a thought in their mind to turn to the Lord, but then it vanishes. For a moment they're convicted. For a moment they hear the prophet speak, and they think, maybe we should. Maybe we should do that, but then they don't. Therefore I cut you in pieces with my prophets. I killed you with the words of my mouth. My judgments flash like lightning upon you. So he's having these prophets come to them. And there's more than just Hosea. We read about Elijah, read about Elisha. They ministered to the northern kingdom. And Amos, of course, already. Like, there's more than just Hosea. There have been other. We read about a guy named Oded. Who, we read in 2 Chronicles about an incident where the Israelites fought the Judahites, defeated them, and took a large number of their women and children captive. And a prophet named Oded, who we don't hear about anywhere else, comes and talks to them and says, don't do this. Don't make slaves out of your fellow countrymen. And they don't. They say, okay, we'll send them back. And they, so they had other prophets. Every so often they would have these moments where they realized, yeah, we shouldn't do that. We've got these prisoners, these women and children of these slain soldiers who defeated our brothers. We just got done fighting our own brothers and killed them, and now we've got their wives and their children all tied up, and we're taking them back to our land to distribute as plunder. But this prophet comes along and says, don't do that. And we think, okay, we won't. So we take them back. Every so often they have one of those kinds of moments that never lasts. It never penetrates anything beyond the surface. For I desire mercy. So here's what the real issue is here. I desire mercy, not sacrifice. Acknowledgement of God rather than burnt offerings. We read about this all the way back in the days of Saul. Even before that. Saul offered sacrifices. But we read Samuel confront him and say that if the heart of the issue is deeper than the sacrifices. We even saw that way back in the days of Cain and Abel, because the dispute between them was about their sacrifices. If we had obedience, we wouldn't need sacrifices. If we truly love God and follow his commands, we wouldn't even need sacrifices. It's more important to be right in the head and heart with God than to follow the specific commands of the sacrifices. I desire mercy, not sacrifice. Acknowledgement of God rather than burnt offerings. Like Adam, they have broken the covenant. And Adam in this case probably just means general man. That word Adam means just man, or mankind. So it's probably not referring to the specific man Adam back in Genesis 2 and 3. It's probably talking about just mankind. We've broken the covenant like all men have. They were unfaithful to me there. Or there could be a place called Adam that's being referred to. But it does kind of talk about there as a place. Again, that's one of those verses that we may not quite know what that means. It may have made perfect sense to the people at the time, but we may have lost that. Gilead is a city of wicked men, stained with footprints of blood. As marauders, now we need to talk about this Gilead. Actually, I got a little bit confused there. I'm going to wait on that just a minute. Gilead is a city. Now, hang on. Where am I? Let me read. Okay, there we are. No, that's not it. I have my notes again. Did I write that one down? Yeah, let me see here. Gilead is a city on the east side of the Jordan River. It's in that section of Israel that wasn't officially a part of the Promised Land. And it's often kind of used as a catch-all term to describe that entire area. It must have been a very prominent city. This could be referring, so Gilead is a city on the east side of the Jordan River. It's in that territory belonging to the tribes of Reuben, Gad, and Manasseh that was not officially part of the Promised Land. And they've been somewhat separate from the rest of the Israelites. They were conquered by Aram at one point, but they were taken back again in the days of Jehoaz and Jeroboam. And it could be referring to, and that's where Pekah, one of the kings that comes along during this time, has his base of power. And 2 Kings 15, chapter 15, verse 24, will just say this. Pekahiah, the son of Menahem, did evil in the eyes of the Lord. One of his chief officers, Pekah, son of Remaliah, conspired against him. Taking 50 men of Gilead with him, he assassinated Pekahiah, and along with some of his chief officials. So that could be referring to here, and then later on we're going to find out that Tiglath-Pileser takes Gilead, and as well as other areas of Israel. This is verse 29. In the time of Pekah, king of Israel, Tiglath-Pileser, king of Assyria, came and took Ijon, Abel-Beth-Maachah, Genoa, Kadesh, and Hazor. He took Gilead and Galilee, including all land Naphtali, and deported people to Assyria. So Gilead, we could be referring to that. We could be referring to Gilead as the source of the conspiracy in which resulted in assassination of a king, or just talking about it in general. I'm not really sure. Gilead is a city of wicked men, stained with footprints of blood, as marauders lie in wait. As marauders lie in ambush for a man, so do bands of priests. They murder on the road to Shechem, committing shameful crimes. Again, that could be referring to a specific incident that was known in those days, or maybe it's just a general statement about the conditions in the land at the time. I have seen a horrible thing in the house of Israel. There, Ephraim is given to prostitution, and Israel is defiled. As for you, Judah, a harvest is appointed. Whenever I would restore the fortunes of my people, whenever I would heal Israel, the sins of Ephraim are exposed, and the crimes of Samaria revealed. They practice deceit. Thieves break into houses. Bandits rob in the streets. But they do not realize that I remember all their evil deeds. It's just so common, and it's amazing how we all think this, and we all do. Now we think we're going to get away with it. You know, criminals who get caught and arrested and put in prison, they commit their crimes thinking they're going to get away with it. They commit their crimes not thinking that they're going to end up being put in prison for 5 years, or 7 years, or 10 years, or however long. But whether or not we escalate to the rate of actually being imprisoned by the government for a period of time, or just commit crimes or sins against each other in our daily lives, we always think we're going to get away with it. We always think that no one really sees and nothing's going to happen, but someone does see. God always remembers. Their sin, now he'll forget them if we ask him for forgiveness. He will put them out of his mind. But if we don't, our sins are just going to keep stacking up higher and higher. Their sins engulf them. They are always before me. They delight the king with their wickedness, the princes with their lies. They are all adulterers. So he is referring to the men as adulterers here. Burning like an oven, whose fire the baker need not stir. From the kneading of the dough till it rises. They're just so hot for sin, you don't even need to tend to this fire. This fire just lights itself. Their passion for sin is so great, their fire lights itself. On the day of the festival of the king, the princes become inflamed with wine. We're probably talking about palace intrigue here. You read about all those assassinations that were happening in Israel this time. He's probably I don't know if he's referring to a specific thing. Like you read about Pekah coming out of Gilead to assassinate Pekahiah. It could be referring to that specific incident, because he did come from Gilead for that. I don't know. And he mentioned Gilead a few verses ago. Or just in general, this is what was going on at the time. You had one king assassinating another, and they were all joining a conspiracy with each other, and they turned on each other. I don't know. He's not specific enough for us to be precise about that, but he is almost certainly talking about all of the assassinations and political intrigue that was going on. On the day of the festival of our king, the princes become inflamed with wine, and he joins hands, he, the king, joins hands with the mockers, the guys who are planning to kill him. Now, there actually was an example of this sort of thing happening earlier in their history. Back in the book of 1 Kings, we read about a king being assassinated in this sort of way. One of the early ones. 1 Kings chapter 16, verse 8. In the 26th year of Asa, king of Judah, Elah, son of Baasha, who was king of Israel. Baasha replaced the house of Jeroboam. Jeroboam was king, his son was king, and then Baasha assassinated his son in his house and replaced him as king. This is Baasha's son Elah. He became king of Israel, and he reigned in Tirzah 2 years. Zimri, one of his officials, who had command of half his chariots, plotted against him. Eli was in Tirzah at the time, getting drunk in the home of Arza, the man in charge of the palace. Zimri came in, struck him down, and killed him in the 27th year of Asa, king of Judah. Then he succeeded him as king. So we already had an example of a king getting drunk in someone's house, joining hands apparently with a mocker, and then getting killed. That could be happening again. You know, the northern kingdom had a lot of dynasties that came and went over the course of their time. And here, in their final years, they had one after another after another. In the south, they had stability. Except for that brief period of time where Athaliah usurped the throne for a few years, it was all the same family, from David on down to the last king of Judah, and even on, of course, down from there to Christ. So there was stability for all of Judah's faults, and they had plenty of faults of their own. At least there was political stability in Judah. That is not the case in Israel. From the very beginning, Israel had a history of assassination and civil revolt. Their hearts, the mockers' hearts, are like an oven. They approach him with intrigue, so they want to kill him. They want to kill the king and become king themselves. Their passion smolders all night. In the morning it blazes like a flaming fire. All of them are hot as an oven. They devour their rulers. All their kings fall. And none of them calls on me. Now he is probably referring to this list of ongoing assassinations that is happening here at the end of the northern kingdom. He's also probably talking about the northern kingdom in general. Like we said earlier with the king of Elah, who was a member of the second dynasty of Israel, and he was assassinated. And his father had assassinated the first dynasty of Israel. You know, Israel had a history of this sort of thing, dating back to the beginning of its kingdom. And none of the northern kings ever called on God, ever turned on him, ever turned to him. None of them ever did. So it's not just these last few kings that are the problem. They're just a logical outcome of what Israel has been sowing for 200 years now. Ephraim mixes with the nations. Ephraim is a flat cake not turned over. So it's burnt on the bottom and flat on the top. No one wants to eat a cake like that. Foreigners sap his strength, but he does not realize it. His hair is sprinkled with gray, but he does not notice. Israel's arrogance testifies against him. But despite all this, he does not return to the Lord his God or search for him. Israel is very close to its end, or Ephraim, but doesn't know it, doesn't recognize it, doesn't turn to God, doesn't call out for God's help, doesn't turn to him. He just thinks he's going to go on and keep doing the things he's been doing, and it's going to be fine. Ephraim is like a dove, easily deceived and senseless. now calling to Egypt, now calling to Assyria. So there's our reference to turning to Egypt. Again, the only king that we know of that did that was the very last one. So if that's what Hosea is talking about here, we're near the very end of Israel as a kingdom. Where they go, or when they go, I will throw my net over them. I will pull them down like birds of the air. When I hear them flocking together, I will catch them. So it doesn't matter whether they go to Egypt or Assyria, they're going to get stopped. Woe to them, because they have strayed from me. Destruction to them, because they have rebelled against me. I long to redeem them, but they speak lies against me. They don't want to be redeemed. He wants to benefit them. He wants to be with them. He wants them to be his people, for him to be their God. But they don't want that. He's put up with this treatment for 200 years from them. They split from the southern kingdom 200 years ago, and they've been acting this way the whole time. He's given them 200 years to turn around, and they haven't done it. They don't want to do it. They do not cry out to me from their hearts, but wail upon their beds. They gather together for grain and new wine, but they turn away from me. I trained them, and I strengthened them, but they plot evil against me. They do not turn to the Most High. They are like a faulty bow, which can't shoot an arrow. You pull the bow back to shoot an arrow at your oncoming enemy, but this bow breaks before you can do anything. And now you're helpless. Their leaders will fall by the sword because of their insolent words. And for this, they'll be ridiculed in the land of Egypt. That could be a literal thing. Like I said, Hosea, the last king of Israel, did turn to the Pharaoh of Egypt for help for a while. And of course, Assyria conquered him anyway. So it could be that Egypt literally mocked them for that. Or it could be figurative about them just being mocked by the nations around them. I'm not sure.